A silver van cruises down the lively streets of Los Angeles. Inside, James Corden sits behind the wheel, one hand on the steering wheel, singing classic hits. Alongside an A-list celebrity, they laugh, banter, clap their hands, and belt out familiar choruses. The audience laughs along, clicks the like button, and shares the video, convinced they've just witnessed a spontaneous, heartwarming moment between two stars, far from the spotlight. And the stage, it was the most beautiful illusion Carpool Karaoke ever sold to millions. A seemingly simple format that transformed James Corden from an unknown British host into a global phenomenon. People loved him not just for the humor, but for the feeling of authenticity he brought, the idea that he wasn't performing, just casually driving around town with a friend. But then one day, a behind-the-scenes video leaked. The car wasn't moving on its own. It was being towed by another vehicle. James Corden, the man the world believed was driving, was in fact sitting behind a useless steering wheel, acting the part. Everything from the conversations and singing to the spontaneous laughter had been pre-planned, rehearsed, and tightly controlled. And suddenly, people began to ask, if this was fake, what else had been a lie? Carpool Karaoke, once hailed as a heartwarming and honest slice of television, was now being rebranded as a masterclass in deception. And that's why today, we need to talk about James Corden and the most painful unmasking of his career. In the year 2015, when James Corden took over The Late Late Show, few people expected much. A relatively unknown British comedian in the United States, lacking leading man looks and without much star power to back him. The show itself was aging and uninspired. Corden was seen merely as a temporary fix. But just months later, everything changed, and it started with a car. Carpool Karaoke was introduced as a side segment of the show. A simple concept: Corden would invite music stars to ride along in a car, sing popular songs, and chat casually. No studio, no dramatic setups. Just a car, a host, and a guest. It felt unscripted, spontaneous, real. And that was its magic. Audiences felt like they were seeing something rare. Celebrities being human, not Beyoncé, the icon, but Beyoncé goofing off in the passenger seat, not Paul McCartney, the legend, but an old man telling Beatles stories like your favorite uncle. The illusion of intimacy was the secret weapon. The Adele episode alone reached over 250 million views, becoming one of the most viral YouTube videos of all time. Justin Bieber, Lady Gaga, Bruno Mars, Billie Eilish. All the biggest names signed on. Each episode felt like a golden ticket to get closer to the stars. James Corden, once a virtual unknown, quickly became a household name. People praised him as the new king of late-night television. The carpool clips didn't just trend, they dominated. On YouTube, on Twitter, on morning news segments. They became cultural events. Corden rode that wave all the way to Hollywood. He started landing voiceover roles, film cameos, brand partnerships, invitations to elite celebrity circles. Carpool Karaoke wasn't just a segment anymore. It became the brand, and that brand was built on a single powerful illusion: that James Corden was real, that what viewers saw on screen wasn't performance but personality. But that illusion would soon shatter, and when it did, the fall was as steep as the rise had been meteoric. On the 23rd of January, a video recorded by a bystander went viral across social media. In the clip, a silver Chevrolet SUV, identical to the one seen in Carpool Karaoke, is rolling slowly through a street in Los Angeles. But the shocking detail wasn't the car itself, it was what was in front of it. A large towing rig, pulling the entire carpool setup like a stage prop. James Corden sat in the driver's seat, just like always. His guest that day was Justin Bieber. But one thing was painfully obvious: he wasn't driving. The vehicle wasn't being powered by its own engine. It was being pulled, steered from the outside. The wheel in Corden's hands was, quite literally, a prop. Within hours, the footage had spread to millions. Shock turned into confusion, confusion into disbelief, and disbelief into outrage. So we've been lied to all along. The backlash was swift. Corden was forced to address the video on air. He laughed it off and said, "We only use a tow rig in certain situations, when safety requires it. Otherwise, I do drive the car myself." But the damage was done. If only a few episodes used towing, why had no one ever seen him react to actual traffic? Why did the editing always avoid showing the road in motion? Why did every random conversation land so perfectly on cue? Soon, Former production staff began speaking anonymously to the media. One claimed, "Everything is planned dialogue." Reactions even when to laugh. They rehearse parts of the singing to avoid mistakes. "We've even reshot entire bits to make them look more spontaneous." Some episodes, according to insiders, weren't even filmed in real time. Lighting and post-production created the illusion of natural sunlight and timing. What made Carpool Karaoke special, its spontaneity, was now exposed as just another tightly controlled performance. The audience didn't feel tricked by the tow truck. They felt betrayed by the performance pretending not to be one. One Twitter user summarized the sentiment perfectly. "James Corden wasn't behind the wheel. He was behind a mask the whole time." Rolling Stone called the controversy a wake-up call that in today's television, real is just another scripted genre. What people thought was magic turned out to be a machine, and the trust that powered it began to fall apart. For many viewers, Carpool Karaoke wasn't just a feel-good show. It was a space of connection, where celebrities let their guard down, where laughter felt genuine, where vulnerability looked real. People didn't just enjoy the segment, they trusted it. So when that trust was shattered, the reaction wasn't mild disappointment. It was betrayal. Across Twitter, Reddit, and YouTube, the internet erupted with memes, jokes, and fury. A flood of edits emerged. James Corden photoshopped behind a green screen, driving toy cars, being towed on roller skates. Sarcasm spread like wildfire, trending hashtags. Fake pool karaoke, Corden exposed, Lear Karen fire. But beneath the memes was a deeper discomfort. People began asking, if this was fake, what else about him isn't real? The media followed suit. Headlines questioned the integrity of the show. Op-eds dissected the nature of performance in modern entertainment. One outlet called it a slap in the face to anyone who still believed television could be sincere. But the biggest damage wasn't just the lie. It was that the lie confirmed what some already suspected about James Corden. In the years leading up to this scandal, scattered stories had circulated, reports of rude behavior toward restaurant staff, incidents of cold, dismissive interactions with fans when cameras weren't rolling, public complaints from hospitality workers describing him as entitled, arrogant, and disrespectful. At the time, these moments were dismissed as bad days or isolated events, but now they started to look like patterns. And once that image began to crack, the internet didn't hesitate. Dozens of YouTube channels uploaded the truth about James Corden breakdowns. Commentators analyzed everything: his facial expressions, his body language, how he interrupted guests, how he laughed too loudly. It became a cultural re-examination in real time. Suddenly, James Corden wasn't the funny, lovable Brit anymore. He was the guy who faked it all and got caught. The Carpool Karaoke scandal wasn't just a PR mess, it was a trigger. A moment that turned mild suspicion into mainstream backlash. Not because of a tow truck, but because a man who built a career on being authentic had, in the end, sold something entirely manufactured. The Carpool Karaoke scandal didn't end James Corden's career overnight, but it left a fracture keyed, expanding, and impossible to ignore. In entertainment, a career isn't built on talent alone. It rests on public affection, emotional goodwill, and trust. And once that trust breaks, the fall is rarely dramatic. It's gradual, invisible, but irreversible. After the leaked footage surfaced, Corden tried to manage the narrative. He appeared on air with his usual charm, joked about the incident, and called it a silly misunderstanding. But to many, it wasn't damage control. It was ego control. New Carpool Karaoke episodes continued to air. The production remained polished. Big-name guests still showed up, but the magic had faded. The sparkle, the illusion of something real, was gone. And once the audience stopped believing, the entire format lost its soul. Meanwhile, past rumors about Corden began resurfacing with new weight. A 2017 video of him appearing cold and dismissive to a child fan on set. A viral 2022 scandal where the owner of NYC's Balthazar restaurant publicly banned Corden for allegedly berating staff and demanding free meals. Anonymous accounts from production crews describing him as condescending, dismissive, and obsessed with status. Alone, each of these incidents might have been brushed off. Together, they formed a pattern, a narrative, not of a charming host, but of a performer carefully curating likability for the cameras. In 2023, Corden announced he would leave The Late Late Show. After 8 years, He cited family and personal priorities, but entertainment media painted a different picture. A quiet exit, a fading brand, a man walking away before being pushed. Since then, his presence in Hollywood has cooled, film projects slowed, guest appearances dropped. The enthusiasm that once followed him into rooms had turned into silence or polite distance. The world no longer saw James Corden as the funny guy from Carpool Karaoke. Now, he was the guy who faked sincerity and got caught. A media columnist once wrote, "James Corden didn't fall because of one big mistake. He fell because 1,000 small ones finally added up and exposed that the nice guy was just another role." When your entire brand is built on being genuine, the cost of being exposed as artificial is terminal. Carpool Karaoke was once hailed as a triumph of modern television, a segment that looked effortless, felt intimate, and made the world believe they were witnessing something honest. A cultural moment where celebrities dropped the act, laughed freely, and sang without ego. But when the lights faded and the illusion cracked, what emerged wasn't magic. It was machinery, a system so finely tuned that not even authenticity was real anymore. James Corden isn't the first celebrity to manufacture charm. He won't be the last. But this scandal didn't just expose him. It exposed an industry, an ecosystem that sells realness like a product, and where spontaneity is just another special effect. How many smiles on television are genuine? How many unscripted moments are rehearsed? And if everything is produced, what's left for audiences to trust? Perhaps the most unsettling truth is not that James Corden lied, but that for so long we wanted to believe he didn't.